Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is falling in love.
They can't explain it. They don't know why. And here's what's strange. Neither could the first humans who ever felt it. Because love is not a modern invention. It is not something civilization created. Love is ancient, older than language, older than religion, older than any story we've ever told ourselves. But here's the real question. What did it actually feel like 100,000 years ago?
Scientists have discovered something remarkable. The brain of a modern human in love looks almost identical to the brain of our ancient ancestors. Same chemicals, same structures, same patterns, which means the very first humans to walk across the African savanna were capable of feeling exactly what you feel when you look at someone and think, that one. But how did they choose? There was no language to say I love you, no dinner date, no text messages, no social media profile to scroll through. So what was happening? What invisible forces were pulling two ancient humans together across a campfire 100,000 years before anyone had words to describe it? For a long time, scientists told us a simple story. Ancient love was just survival. Choose the strongest mate, produce the healthiest offspring, pass on your genes. It was cold, mechanical, almost mathematical. Evolutionary psychologists pointed to studies showing that men preferred women with symmetrical faces, signs of genetic health. Women preferred men who were tall, broad-shouldered, signs of physical strength. Love, they said, was just biology wearing a disguise. In 1992, evolutionary biologist David Buss published his landmark study across 37 cultures, one of the largest studies of human attraction ever conducted. His findings seemed to confirm it. Everywhere on Earth, humans were attracted to the same basic things: health, resources, protection. It looked like love was just a survival algorithm, beautiful but brutally simple. But then the deeper questions started. If love was only about survival, why did ancient humans bury their dead with flowers? Why did they carve jewelry from shells? Not to eat, not to hunt, but to give to someone. Why did they paint lovers on cave walls? The survival story was not wrong, but it was incomplete. Here is the first thing that changes everything: smell. In 1995, Swiss biologist Klaus Wedekind conducted an experiment that would become one of the most famous in the history of attraction science. He gave men plain white t-shirts and asked them to wear them for 2 nights. No deodorant, no cologne. Then he had women smell those shirts. They didn't see them, they didn't hear them, just the smell of a worn cotton shirt. And here's what happened. The women consistently preferred the smell of men whose immune system genes, called MHC genes, were different from their own. Not random, not just masculine, genetically complementary. Their noses were reading genetic code. Ancient humans did not have dating profiles. They had something far more powerful. They could smell compatibility. Every campfire gathering, every hunt, every shared meal was also an unconscious biological negotiation. Who smells right to me? Whose immune system will protect my children? Before a single word was spoken, before a single glance was held, the body had already cast its vote. But here's where it gets even stranger. That same study found one exception. Women on hormonal birth control showed reversed preferences. They were suddenly attracted to men with similar MHC genes, potentially less compatible, which raises a question no one has fully answered yet. Are modern humans accidentally overwriting an ancient selection system? Ancient attraction wasn't just about smell. It was about the whole body reading another body. Long before language, humans communicated through something anthropologists now call honest signals, things that cannot be faked. Posture, gaze, rhythm, breathing rate. In 2000, anthropologist Robin Dunbar proposed a social brain hypothesis. He argued that the human brain evolved its enormous size not primarily for tool-making, but for navigating social relationships. Love, in other words, may have been one of the key forces that made us smarter. Think about what early love required. You had to read another person's intentions. Were they trustworthy? Consistent? Would they stay? You had to manage jealousy in a small group, a group where everyone knew everything.
You had to coordinate resources, protect young, negotiate with rivals. Love wasn't just a feeling, it was a complex cognitive challenge, and it selected for brains that could handle it. Now here is something extraordinary that researchers discovered in 2005, when anthropologist Helen Fisher placed people who claimed to be newly in love into an fMRI brain scanner. She found something unexpected. The brain region that lit up most intensely was not the emotion center, it was the reward center, the same region that activates for cocaine, for gambling, for sugar. Love at the neurological level was not just an emotion, it was a drive, as powerful and as ancient as hunger. Which means our ancestors didn't just choose to fall in love, they were compelled, pulled towards certain people the way a body is pulled towards food when it is starving. The question is, toward whom?
Here is the second twist. We assume ancient love was about physical attraction first, but the archaeological record tells a different story. At a site in northern Israel called Courtship Cave, dating back 100,000 years, archaeologists found something remarkable. Ochre-stained shells, carefully pierced, arranged as jewelry, not for hunting, not for food, for adorning a body, for being seen in a particular way, for signaling, I am someone worth noticing. And in a burial at Sungir, Russia, dated to 34,000 years ago, they found a man buried with over 3,000 hand-carved ivory beads sewn into his clothing. Each bead would have taken about an hour to make. 3,000 hours of labor. For what? Not survival, not nutrition. For beauty, for meaning, for someone. This is where anthropologists start to shift uncomfortably in their chairs, because this evidence suggests ancient humans were not just selecting for health and strength, they were selecting for meaning-making ability, for creativity, for effort, for the willingness to do something beautiful for another person. In 2019, archaeologist Francesco De Erico argued that these early ornaments were fundamentally about social identity, about saying, I belong to you and you to me. The first love letters were not written, they were worn.
So what did it actually feel like? We cannot ask them, but we can look at modern hunter-gatherer societies, groups like the Kung San of southern Africa, the Hadza of Tanzania, who maintain lifestyles closest to our ancient ancestors. And what researchers found challenges everything. Anthropologist Elizabeth Marshall Thomas spent years with the Kung San. She documented something the survival theory never predicted: romance. Aching, complicated, very human romance. Jealousy so intense it sometimes led to conflict. Grief so deep when a partner died that people stopped eating. Longing that had no practical purpose, no survival advantage, just missing someone. The Hadza, studied by researcher Frank Marlowe, also showed patterns of genuine pair bonding, couples who clearly preferred each other beyond mere convenience or resource sharing, which suggests something profound. The emotions we associate with love today, the electricity of first attraction, the anxiety of uncertainty, the warmth of deep belonging, these are not modern inventions. They are ancient, they are inherited, they are us. And perhaps even more striking, in most ancient societies, love appears to have been understood as something that happened to you, not something you decided, not something you arranged, an arrival, a recognition, that specific person, that one. And here is the third twist, the one no one expected. Love may have been more powerful before it had words. Psychologist Barbara Fredrickson, in her 2013 book Love 2.0, proposed something radical. She argued that love, real love, is not a sustained feeling. It is a series of micro-moments of connection, brief, wordless, biological. Two bodies synchronizing, breathing together, gazing in the same direction, neurons mirroring neurons. She called it positivity resonance. And here's the striking part. These micro-moments don't require language. They don't require long conversations about the future. They require only presence, which means ancient humans may have been extraordinarily good at love, not despite their silence, but because of it. They had no distractions, no phone to glance at, no performance of attraction for an audience watching online. Just fire, stars, another person's face, the full weight of another human being's existence right there. And maybe that is what we have lost. Not love itself, but our ability to be fully present for it. We don't know exactly what the first humans felt when they chose each other. We will never know. But the bones say they buried their loved ones with care. The shells say they made themselves beautiful for someone. The brain chemistry says the feeling compelled them. The archaeology says they stayed. And perhaps that is the most important word of all. Not fell, stayed. Because love in the ancient world had no backup plan, no other options, no exit strategy. Just the fire, the night, the person beside you, and a choice made in the body before it was ever made in the mind. Maybe ancient humans didn't fall in love differently than we do. Maybe they just fell harder because they had nowhere else to fall. The mystery of love, where it comes from, why that person, what makes it stay, was not solved by civilization. It was simply covered over. And somewhere underneath all our words for it, it still moves exactly the way it always did. Silent, certain, ancient.